Hi everyone, welcome back. It's my Swedish whiskey girl, and today we are gonna try a little Indian whiskey. This is the Paul John Classic Select Cask. It's non-chill filtered. It sits at 55.2% ABV, and yeah, so Paul John's a distillery in Goa in India, and I have reviewed their Christmas whiskey of 2020 before, so if you're curious about that one, check that out. But this is kind of one of their more core releases. It's about £60, and yeah, I've never tried it before, so I am very curious. And I know a lot of you said you wanted to see more Paul John reviews as well. It seems to be a lot of a nice fan base for Paul John out there, and this was sent to me by their brand ambassador, so thank you so much, Shilton. And yeah, I mean, India is an interesting country for making whiskey because whiskey is really popular. They have some of the brands in India outsell so many of the other brands that you would have heard of. What's it called? Oh no, I can't remember. But there's a specific brand of whiskey in India like outsells pretty much all of the Scotch whiskey because yeah, it's such a big market, which is quite cool. But we are going to try this one today. And another thing in India is of course the climate. It's quite different to Scotland, and they have an angel share. If you compare it to Scotland, which is kind of average 2% per year, it's about 8 to 10% in India or in Goa. So losing a little whiskey to the angels, which means that you might not be able to mature for as long because your ABV goes down, or if you have a humid climate, or that your whiskey just disappears from you and you have nothing left to bottle. But let's start by having a look on the nose on this one. I believe it's been matured in, let me see, I have it here, in ex-bourbon primarily. Yeah, let's have a nose. Ooh. If you've ever been to a distillery and they talk about the production process and talk about milling, and they give you a little jar of barley to smell, that's what this reminds me of straight away. Yeah, definitely like a barley note, and I'm trying to identify because it almost makes me think of chocolate malt, which is a type of roasting your barley, which basically the harder you roast the barley, the less quantity you can get out of it. So you have like your normal barley, the normal toasting levels, and then you have like caramel malts, and you have chocolate malt, you have coffee malt. So there's a few different versions of it. But yeah, this reminds me of that because it has this kind of toasted note. And if you haven't smelled barley, how do I explain that? It's a bit like non-sugary, maybe a little bit like digestives almost, or oats. Like if you've ever had a bag of oats at home for like making porridge or anything, and you open it, it's a bit like that, but quite hefty and quite, so I guess, toasted oats. I mean, it's a big nose. I wasn't really expecting this. I didn't know what I was expecting. Hot climate whiskey for me is always associated with these kind of big tropical fruitiness notes, but I think that's just because of the ones I've had before have been that kind of specific category. It toasted, almost a bit of coffee. But there's also sweetness in there. So yeah, the digestives might be a good note. It's like a big note. It's quite savoury as well. Interesting. I am going to add a little bit of water later on as well, just to kind of bring it down from 55%. A little bit of apple pie as well. So yeah, apple pie, digestives, a little bit of coffee. Definitely that barley notes. But let's have a taste. Sláinte Skål. eyes are almost tearing up a little bit. I wasn't expecting that. It has a really sensation that kind of dries out your mouth, but also immediately after you get really, like, it kind of kickstart your saliva production. It just is really juicy on the finish. I mean, I am also filming this before breakfast because my schedule haven't allowed me to film it before. Like cinnamon latte. A little bit of that coffee note, but also the cinnamon and a wood coming through. That feels very tropical. There's definitely a sweetness there. Now it just feels more and more juicy. I guess I wasn't expecting that 55% just a first go. So many things happening at the same time. It's like a tropical fruit salad, then it's that woodiness, but the woodiness feels quite spicy, but also hot climate. This is what I'm struggling to explain. If you have tried a hot climate whiskey, I think you know what I mean. It has this kind of different character. It's almost a bit chewier and thicker in a way. Yeah, but quite juicy. I do think I prefer this one over the Christmas malts from memory. From memory, the Christmas malt was just missing like another step to just lift it a little bit more. This has so much going on. Lots of flavour. I am going to add a bit of water to it just to see what happens. And for once, I've actually prepared my pipette here in front of me already. So let's see what happens with it a little bit. And we'll have a nose again. Oh, it turned quite chocolatey, like milk chocolate now. But still like milk chocolate and apples. With a tiny, tiny touch of like a little bit of cinnamon. But let's have a taste. Sláinte Skål again. It holds up with the water really, really nicely. Like, what should I say? The water lifts more wood, but I don't mind it at all. It just makes it slightly more robust in a way. I mean, if you can get past the alcohol in the first one, you could get a little bit more juicy fruits, but then if you add a little bit of water, it gets more like black peppery and woody in a way, but still with these, it's like you have the core, which is that black pepper and wood. Without the water, it's surrounded by this thick layer of fruits, but if you add the water, this core kind of grows and makes the proportion between that core and the outer layer smaller, so that this comes to focus and the outer layer is just surrounding it like cling foil in a way. That's how I see it in my head. And yeah, it gives it a little bit more of a bitter character, but not bitter in a bad way. It just kind of clings to your palate a little bit more, I would say. The flavour instead of the alcohol. Because what I've found in the past is some hot climate whiskies, when you add water to them, it thins them out, so the flavour almost disappears instead of lifting it or releasing more aromas. This held up really nicely with water, which is a really happy surprise because I wasn't expecting it due to my experience with hot climate whiskies. But yeah, really interesting expression. I'm really enjoying this one. I think it's a lot kind of almost meatier and more robust than you would anticipate, or than I anticipated anyways. But it's, yeah, got a good, like solid, massive flavour to it. That kind of coffee, barley, chocolatey mixes with tropical fruits and woodiness, hot climate woodiness. That's kind of how I sum this up. It's really interesting. I'd love to hear if you tried any Paul Johns, and if you tried this one, what did you think of it? Do you agree with my tasting notes, or do you have some of your own? Please let me know in the comments below. And I'd love some recommendations for which Paul John to try next. And of course, if you do like the channel, I'd be absolutely over the moon if you would consider using my affiliate links the next time you're shopping with either Master Malt, the Whisky Exchange, or the Scotch Malt Whisky Society. All those links and the links to my other social channels, if you're curious about those, you'll find in the description here below. And as always, a massive thank you to my wonderful supporters on Patreon. I'm so grateful to have you guys with me on my whiskey journey. But I hope you've all had an absolutely wonderful day. Sláinte Skål!